Hello, my dear friends. I'm Dr. Vaishali Bharambe, Professor Anatomy. So there's a very common theory question. Let's read it. Describe the popliteal fossa under the following headings. It's a long question, 15 marks, okay? So what are the headings? Boundaries, contents, description of popliteal artery and its branches, and applied anatomy. This is the question. Even the marks are given for every subheading, right? So how do you approach this question to get the highest possible marks? We're going to solve that today. Come. So popliteal fossa. What is popliteal fossa? Look at this image to understand that this diamond-shaped space behind your knee, okay, it's a slight depression. If you are sitting now, just feel behind your knee. You will find that there's a little depression there where your fingers go in. That diamond-shaped structure is a popliteal fossa. Right. So what are its boundaries? Now understand that. Probably you've dissected the cadaver. If not, also take a look at this image and understand that it is diamond-shaped like this. Okay. So it has a superomedial boundary, superolateral. Inferomedial, inferolateral. Inferior and medial, inferior and lateral. Right? So what are the muscles that are forming these boundaries? You can see the muscles on the screen. Let's identify them. Superomedially, it is semitendinosus and semimembranosus. Superolaterally, it is bicep femoris. Inferomedially, it is medial head of gastrocnemius. Inferolaterally, it is lateral head of gastrocnemius and the plantaris. Got it? So, 4 boundaries, muscles in place, put it in your brain. Okay? Now, any fossa, what is it? A fossa is a space. That means it has got boundaries like we just did, but it has also got a roof and a floor. And then it has got contents and then the applied aspects of the contents. So that's how we're going to study it. Okay. So boundaries are done. Let's go to the roof. Feel the popliteal fossa in you. Come on, feel it. It's covered by skin. If there is skin beneath skin, what should you have? Superficial fascia. And below that superficial fascia, there is a fascia called popliteal fascia. Okay. So that popliteal fascia is pierced by 2 structures. What are the 2 structures? Short saphenous vein and posterior femoral cutaneous nerve. Difficult to remember? You will remember if you learn a line about it. So come, take a look at this image here. You can see that there is a nerve which is drawn dotted because it's lying deep to the skin. Now in the region of popliteal fossa here, it pierces the skin to come and supply the skin. Okay. So it pierces the deep fascia to come and supply the skin. So that's the posterior femoral cutaneous nerve supplies the skin over the popliteal fossa. Here you are seeing the short saphenous vein. What is short saphenous vein? You've heard about the great saphenous vein, right? Short saphenous vein is a short vein found on the back of your leg which drains the lateral end of the dorsal venous arch. Remember, there is a dorsal venous arch on your foot. So at the medial end continues up as a great saphenous. The lateral end goes posteriorly and continues as the short saphenous vein. This short saphenous vein drains the lateral side of your foot and finally drains into the popliteal vein. Okay, learn this. So we've covered the boundaries, the roof. Now what? Of course, the floor. Close your eyes and think. What are the structures that would form the floor of popliteal fossa? The 2 bones, of course. What are the 2 bones? Femur, tibia. Come take a look. Images are better for us to remember. All this is theory, you don't want to read it. Come. So that's the posterior surface of femur, referred to now as the popliteal surface of femur, the popliteal surface of tibia, oblique popliteal ligament, fascia covering popliteus muscle. All these structures together form the floor of your diamond-shaped popliteal fossa. So boundaries, roof, floor, done. Revise the floor quickly in your mind. Popliteal surface of femur, popliteal surface of tibia. Oblique popliteal ligament, fascia covering popliteus muscle. Clear? So let's revise boundaries, roof, floor. Now what? Now we have to talk about the contents and the applied aspects. So come, let's dive into the contents. Students, if you are enjoying this lecture, do please like, share and subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon. Please visit my website www.vpanatomy.com for detailed anatomy lectures with diagrams, surgical anatomy videos, downloadable notes and MCQs. Okay? Link is in the description section. Come, enjoy, learn and remember, VP Anatomy lectures are created to improve not only your understanding but also to improve your recall. And anatomy is about recall, isn't it? So come, learn. So let's talk about the contents. But before we talk about the contents, okay, I'm going to tell you a concept. Any fossa always contains 5 structures. What are they? Arteries, veins, nerves, lymph nodes and others. I have told you this repeatedly in all my lectures. Any fossa always contains these structures. So, artery, nerve, vein, lymph node, others. Question is only which artery? Popliteal artery. Which vein? Popliteal vein. Which lymph nodes? Popliteal lymph nodes. Which nerves? Tibial nerve, common peroneal nerve. One nerve we already know. Posterior femoral cutaneous nerve. Good. And genicular branch of posterior division of obturator nerve. This you will have to remember separately. And what is others? Others is basically fat. Behind your knee, you've got a lot of fat and nothing wrong with it. Fat is not bad. Okay? It's there to protect these important structures. It's a necessity. Right. So what we do now in this lecture is we learn about all of these structures a little bit. Okay? Come. It's time you picked up a cup of coffee. Okay? Relax. Then we're going to go learning about each of these structures. Come on. So I'm going to put a concept in front of you. Okay? So what is the concept? The concept is that here's your adductor magnus. Here's your hiatus magnus. Hiatus magnus is an opening in the adductor magnus muscle. I've taught this many times. Please go see the other lectures to understand a little more detail about adductor magnus. But you can see that it's an opening in the muscle, right? Now, through that opening passes your femoral artery, now called popliteal artery. Crossing that on top of it, okay, from lateral to medial side is the popliteal vein. See how they are crossing each other. And then crossing that further superficially is the tibial and common peroneal nerve. Okay. So 1, 2, 3 structures crossing each other. Who is deepest? Popliteal artery. Who is above it? Popliteal vein. Who is furthermost superficial? Tibial nerve. Popliteal artery, on top of it popliteal vein, and then further on top sciatic nerve dividing into tibial and common peroneal. This is concept. Remember, most superficial is the nerve, then is the vein, then is the artery. With that in your brain, let's dive into the subject. So I'm going to talk about the nerves now. Sciatic nerve. You know that sciatic nerve is the largest nerve of the body. Root value L4 to S3. You can see it emerging over here, deep to gluteus maximus, reaching somewhere at the junction of upper 2/3 and lower 1/3 of the thigh, dividing into common peroneal nerve and tibial nerve. You can see that clearly, okay? And these are the nerves we want to talk about. Right. So what is tibial nerve? Tibial nerve, close your eyes, repeat. Ventral branches of ventral rami of L4, L5, S1, S2, S3. Ventral branches of ventral rami of L4, L5, S1, S2, S3. You must know this even in the middle of your sleep. Not that anybody will ask you, but in case they did, you should know it. Okay? Right. So, tibial nerve enters into the popliteal fossa right at the top of the diamond. Okay? Descends down vertically, at times hidden by the two bellies. When you're dissecting, you won't see it easily. It might be hidden by the bellies of gastrocnemius. And see here, overlap by gastrocnemius bellies. In the upper one-third of the fossa, it lies lateral to the popliteal artery and vein. In the middle, it lies the most superficial. In the lower one-third, it lies medially. I'm not going to repeat this. You should by now understand this. If you don't, in the later part of the class, I will be giving you examples of this to make this concept clear. Right. So, always between your tibial nerve and the popliteal artery, there will be a popliteal vein. Okay. So, it gives rise to a number of branches. What are the branches? Muscular branches, cutaneous branches, articular branches, and vascular. Muscular to muscles, that you can understand. Cutaneous to skin, also understandable. Articular to the knee joint, and vascular because you must never forget that the blood supply and the dilatation and narrowing of blood vessels is also controlled by the nerves. Come. So let's start a diagram now. Come on, pick up your pencils and write down L4, L5, S1, S2 and S3. Branches from this unite to form your tibial nerve. That's your tibial nerve, almost vertically passing through your popliteal fossa. Now, that's plantaris muscle. Draw it, please. Okay. So now your tibial nerve is going to give out superior medial genicular. Medial meaning it's going to give the branches on the medial side of the fossa. Superior medial genicular, middle genicular, inferior medial genicular. Genicular going to your knee. Okay, got it? So these are articular branches. Now let's talk about muscular. One branch to plantaris, one branch to lateral head of gastrocnemius, soleus, and one that goes below plantaris to supply the popliteus. All are branches given off on the lateral side. One branch going medially to supply medial head of gastrocnemius. So much of your superficial muscle group has been supplied by your tibial nerve. But it also supplies the skin, giving rise to the so famous sural nerve. Sural is a cutaneous nerve. Okay. So these are branches of our tibial nerve. If you draw the diagram, it becomes very easy to remember. Okay. So always draw to remember. Best recall comes from drawing. Right. So what are the other structures supplied by nerve to popliteus? It's a question asked sometimes to a well-performing student. Explore, find out the answer. Of course, feel free to put the answer in the comment section. I would be thrilled if you found out even one. Okay? Alright. So let's talk about what will happen if your tibial nerve is damaged. Now remember, after supplying all these muscles, gastrocnemius, soleus, which are both plantar flexors, it goes down into the deep compartment of your leg and goes on to supply the deeper muscles, which are flexors of your foot. Okay? Flexor discorum longus, flexor hallucis longus. Okay? So all these are supplying the foot. Now let's see what happens. No plantar flexor supply. So what will the patient have? Patient will have deep dorsiflexion. So see, the patient will come with this kind of a foot, acutely dorsiflexed. Plantar flexors are gone. Okay? It also appears that it paralyzes the inverters. See, tibialis posterior is an inverter of your foot. So now that your inverter is gone, your everters come into play. So the patient comes with dorsiflexed and everted foot. Now I can show you my foot, but I expect you to do this on your own right now. Look at your foot, dorsiflex it and evert it. Go back to normal. Look at your foot, dorsiflex it, evert it. Eversion as in the lateral border comes up. Got it? That is called calcaneo valgus. It's called as calcaneo valgus, which is a deformity which will happen if the patient has a tibial nerve damage. Got it? So weakened inversion, loss of toe flexion also. Right. But then ma'am, what happens if sural nerve is also gone? Will the patient have any problems? Of course. I'm so glad you asked. Okay. So yes, the patient has got a cutaneous loss. So what happens when he begins to walk on the ground? He doesn't feel the stuff or the ground on which he's walking. So if he gets damaged, okay, suppose he hits a stone, he doesn't understand it, he or she, because the cutaneous supply is lost. So what happens? One fine day he looks down at his foot and realizes, oh my God, I have an injury. But he never knew because the body is no longer telling him when he is injuring his foot. So this kind of thing leads to a condition called trophic ulcers, exactly like the image I'm showing you. These are trophic ulcers because the body has lost its ability to produce pain, which is the most important protective mechanism you have in your body. So loss of pain sensation leads to such trophic ulcers. Right. So let's talk about the next nerve, the common peroneal nerve. This time again, ventral rami, but the root value is dorsal division. Ventral rami is common. Dorsal division of ventral rami of L4, L5, S1, S2. So, close your eyes, repeat. Common peroneal nerve, root value. Dorsal division of ventral rami of L4, L5, S1, S2. Okay, get that? Remember the nerve descends down across your popliteal fossa to wind around the neck of fibula. Best to see it? Okay. So, here's your sciatic dividing into tibial and common peroneal. Now, focus on the common peroneal. See how it's dividing into deep peroneal and superficial peroneal at the neck of fibula. Okay, so how it crosses the popliteal fossa, all the time being on the lateral side at the neck of fibula, dividing into deep and superficial peroneal nerves. So take a look here. That's the common peroneal lying deep to the peroneus longus, dividing into deep peroneal and superficial peroneal. Right. So drawing, come on, pick up your pencils, write L4, L5, S1, S2. The branches unite to form your common peroneal nerve, which then divides into deep peroneal and superficial peroneal. So this entire nerve that you're seeing, it goes obliquely across the superolateral boundary of popliteal fossa. It gives rise to a lot of branches. This time they are lateral. Superolateral genicular, inferolateral genicular, recurrent genicular. Superolateral, inferolateral, recurrent genicular, all branches to genicular knee joint. Also gives rise to cutaneous nerve called sural communicating and lateral sural nerve. Okay. So, ma'am, does it not give rise to any motor branches? It does, but not in the popliteal fossa. The deep and superficial peroneal are going to give rise to a lot of motor branches or branches to the muscles, but not in the popliteal fossa. So that's your common peroneal nerve in the popliteal fossa. Sometimes they can ask you questions like, name two branches of common peroneal nerve in the popliteal fossa. In which case you have to talk about the genicular or the sural. Okay, right. So common peroneal nerve now divides into deep and superficial peroneal. Deep supplies the muscles of the extensor compartment of the leg. That means anterior compartment, which are basically responsible for dorsiflexion. Today's class is about dorsiflexion. Please dorsiflex again. Superficial peroneal, which supplies muscles of the lateral compartment, peroneus longus, peroneus brevis, which are everters. Dorsiflexors anteriorly, everters laterally. So this is what your common peroneal is going to bring about. Okay. Superficial peroneal also give rise to cutaneous branches that supply the dorsum of your foot. Right. So let's see what can happen. Somebody is walking on the road, a vehicle comes and hits him in the leg. Most commonly, the lower part of the vehicle is likely to hit the patient on the common peroneal as it winds around the neck of fibula. So what will happen? Deep and superficial peroneal gone. Right? So now what will the patient come with? What happens is he loses his ability to dorsiflex. Okay, so because the patient cannot dorsiflex, the foot just begins to fall down. Okay, cannot dorsiflex, the foot falls down. Condition is called as the dropped foot or the foot drop. Inability to lift the foot off the ground. So every time the patient walks, it drags his foot and slaps it on the ground. Drags his foot and slaps it on the ground. That is called as a foot drop, which is a common peroneal nerve injury. Of course, These are its branches, superficial peroneal, deep peroneal, supplying the dorsum of the foot. That is why not only is he having a motor deficit, but he can also have a cutaneous loss. Right, so that explains associated sensory loss. So now we are done with the nerves. Which two nerves? Tibial, common, peroneal. Posterior femoral cutaneous, we've already done. Genicular branch of posterior division of obturator nerve is a branch of obturator nerve which enters into the knee joint, piercing the oblique popliteal ligament. Okay, right. So let's now talk about the popliteal artery. Right. So popliteal artery is a downward continuation of femoral artery which enters into the popliteal fossa through an opening in adductor magnus called as hiatus magnus. Very nice. Okay. It's in the fossa. It is accompanied by popliteal vein which at this moment lies lateral to it. Okay. As they descend down, they will cross each other so that the vein will become medial and the artery will become lateral. Finally, the tibial nerve will be most superficial to it, crossing all of them, okay, from lateral to medial side. Finally, the artery terminates by dividing into anterior and posterior tibial arteries. Lot of theory, boring. We are going to see diagrams, okay? But before that, remember, the popliteal artery gives rise to muscular branches, terminal branches, genicular. Terminal we already know. Anterior tibial, posterior tibial. So now we have to learn about muscular branches, genicular branches, okay? And maybe a few cutaneous as well. So come, let's look at the image to understand. So I've removed all contents. All I have left in the diagram is my popliteal artery. Here it is. You can see how popliteal artery is dividing into posterior tibial and anterior tibial, terminal branches. Okay, and this it's doing by passing deep to the soleus. So you can see that I've drawn it dotted. Now, here you're seeing muscular branches, some more muscular branches. Now let's talk about superior medial, inferior medial, superior lateral, inferior lateral, and middle genicular arteries. These are branches of popliteal artery which form the anastomosis at the knee joint. This is important, you should know about this. Also gives rise to cutaneous branches. So these are branches of popliteal artery. Unless you draw the diagram, highly unlikely that you're going to remember this. So please draw it. And yes, there is a video already released on how to draw popliteal fossa. You will find this there as well. You can use that video also. You can now see how the popliteal vein is emerging lateral to popliteal artery, crossing it superficially and coming to lie medial to popliteal artery in the lower part of the fossa. So that's your artery and that's your vein. Did you see how they're crossing? That's the concept I want you to carry in your brain. Right. Now I've added something more. Yellow is the nerve. So tibial nerve, as you can see, is crossing the popliteal vein and artery superficially. Now understand, this is the artery. Crossing it superficially is the vein and crossing it further superficially is the tibial nerve. A little bit of repetition, I know, but once you get this, you're not going to forget it. Go and remember it. So that's why a little bit of repetition is good. Right. So what have we done? We've talked about the arteries, veins, nerves. Let's just touch on the lymph nodes and others. So which lymph nodes? Here you can see popliteal lymph nodes. Okay, in the popliteal fossa, there are a few lymph nodes, popliteal lymph nodes. Ma'am, this is looking yellow. Why is it looking yellow? Because there's a lot of fat. The fat is there to protect the very crucial neurovascular bundle that passes through the popliteal fossa. So do please learn how to draw a good diagram of popliteal fossa. The link to my video on this is there in the description section. Please make use of the video. Why should you know how to draw? Good question, isn't it? You should know because this is the commonest question asked. We started our video with this. How would you describe popliteal fossa? Boundaries, enumerate the contents, describe the popliteal artery and its branches, and applied aspects. Now, in this, you can see that no diagram has been asked. But please remember that your diagram is going to help you score. Not only it's going to help you score, it might help you to recall any contents that you might have otherwise forgotten. So do please remember to draw diagrams in your paper. Okay. With this, we come to applied anatomy. What is the effect of damage to tibial nerve? Already discussed. Damage to common peroneal nerve? Already discussed. You can feel deep. Relax your knee. Put your hand in your popliteal fossa. You will be able to feel the precious pulsations of popliteal artery. Not easy. You have to practice it. Popliteal aneurysm is a very common thing. Okay, the aneurysm is a dilatation of a part of an artery. It can compress the tibial nerve. It can feel as a pulsatile swelling behind your knee. Popliteal artery can become entrapped. If there is an abnormal medial head of gastrocnemius, sometimes the artery gets compressed by it. Okay. Deep vein thrombosis is a topic by itself, but it can cause calf swelling pain and risk of pulmonary embolism. Right. So, I think this is an easy topic. We've run through it at a decent pace. I'm going to ask you some MCQs. Come on, get ready. Come on. Okay, ready? Chalo, let's begin. Following are branches of popliteal artery except superior medial, inferior medial, descending genicular, middle genicular. Obviously, descending genicular because that's the last branch of femoral artery. It's not a branch of popliteal artery. Following nerve pierces oblique popliteal ligament. Now don't look there. Ask yourself, which was the nerve that was piercing the oblique popliteal ligament? It was genicular branch of posterior division of obturator nerve. So that's the answer, D. Following is true for common peroneal nerve except root value L4, L5, S1, S2, yes. Winds around neck of fibula, yes. Injury leads to foot drop, yes. Superior medial genicular is its branch, no. Superior lateral genicular is its branch. So D is the answer. Sural nerve is a branch of, you know it's a branch of tibial nerve, not much to this MCQ. Right. So in life, often it's not the destination, but the journey that is important. So make your journey worthwhile one. This is something I also believe in. So your journey is just starting out when you start to study anatomy. Please make it a point to find moments of joy in your study of anatomy. You will be surprised at how much easier life becomes when you find joy, even during this process of learning. Students, if you're enjoying my lectures, do please like, share and subscribe to my channel and hit that bell icon. Do visit my website vbanatomy.com. Thank you, students. I love taking this lecture. I hope this helps you to score in that precious, very commonly asked question. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.